South Florida, this is Headliners, only on CBS News Miami.
Hi there and welcome to Headliners. I'm Lauren Pastrana. It's been just 3 weeks since permitless carry became law in Florida. Since then, mass shootings have continued to see a troubling uptick across the country. And with students returning to school in a matter of weeks, safety is on the forefront of the minds of parents and teachers. In Miami-Dade, a proposal has been made to clarify the policy keeping unauthorized weapons away from school grounds. CBS News Miami's Peter Dench explains why one school board member says it's needed now more than ever.
The new board item would direct the Miami-Dade school superintendent, along with school board members and police, to make it crystal clear as to what is prohibited on school property.
So what I'm seeking to do is make sure that we're clear that weapons cannot be on school grounds by employees, by visitors, and by those individuals that are not authorized law enforcement officials.
School board member Steve Gallen III is proposing the new board item.
This item is proposing that we take a strong, hard look at our policy regarding weapons on school campuses and district-owned properties. This is a result of a recent administrative law judge's ruling in which an AK-47 was found on the front seat of an employee's vehicle in plain sight on a school campus.
The judge ruled that Fort Pierce teacher who was fired for that could keep his job.
The judge, however, ruled that the individual in question was not in violation of any school policy or any laws because the policy was not explicit. What we found in this particular case is that there was a conspicuous conflict. The judge even stated that there's a conflict in school board policy and state statute.
Because Florida law prohibits the possession and carrying of a firearm on school property. There are even more concerns because of the new law allowing you to carry weapons without a permit.
So we have to be crystal clear relative to what will not be accepted on school campuses, what will not be tolerated relative to employees, visitors, obviously students.
Board members agreed safety is a key priority.
We are not just here to provide them the education from a standpoint of the books and the materials, but also to make sure that those students are safe the minute they walk into these buildings.
Gallen hopes the new board item will lead to extremely clear language as to what is prohibited on school property and that all employees will be made aware of it. In Miami, Peter Dench, CBS News Miami.
Finding affordable housing is complicated at best in South Florida, even more so when there are allegations of sexual harassment. Such is the case of one woman who told her story to CBS News Miami's Joe Gorcho.
I try my best to keep them happy.
A mother of two who wishes to conceal her identity goes by Miss Thompson. She lives in Florida City, more than 40 miles from family and close friends in Miami.
It's kind of very depressing living all the way down here. I feel, very sad and very distant and very traumatized.
Thompson hoped to find a rental for her family in Miami. She found this unit listed in the court documents last August, but ultimately never signed a lease for rent.
But I just felt so uncomfortable.
A civil complaint filed on her behalf in the U.S. District Court, Southern District of Florida in Miami, details why. It alleges Thompson's real estate agent displayed pervasive and persistent sexual harassment and discrimination. Thompson describes her interaction with the Brokers LLC associate, Barry Roth, after she texted him on August 25th of last year about a unit she wanted to rent in Miami. She initially messaged Roth about an available unit and writing she had an affordable housing voucher. Thompson then shows and reads messages she says she received from Roth over the next 7 days.
I like how you look at me for me. I like women of color.
Another reads, I just went through a bad divorce, so I haven't felt love or touch for a while.
Would you be open up for me? Thank you. I would love to feel and enjoy again without drama.
Thompson says she documented more sexually explicit messages. The court filing alleges on Wednesday, August 31st at 11:06 a.m., Thompson spoke to Mr. Roth.
He said he wants to feel all my body at 11:16 a.m. I spoke to Mr. Berry. He said he lives on Isbury Road alone, and I could come over his house. I don't have to worry.
Both Brokers LLC and Mr. Roth are listed as defendants in this complaint. I called their respective attorneys last month. Both declined to comment. They responded to the civil complaint on April 4th of this year in a filing in which Brokers LLC acknowledged that Roth serves as a listing agent for them. The company denied liability and wrongdoing. On April 27th, Roth denied the allegations and demands strict proof. Despite all the alleged messages and conversations, Thompson still wanted the unit.
Usually the realtor is the person that helps you get the unit. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I will never have to see him again.
Until she read over the final paperwork.
I seen that he was going to be the landlord over the unit.
She did not sign the lease, ultimately moving her girls to Florida City.
I didn't feel safe. I felt less of a human being. I just felt really violated on every level.
Thompson filed a police report on September 8th of last year. I spoke with Miami PD. They told me they had taken her information based on what they documented. An officer reviewed it and determined it was insufficient to refer the case for a criminal investigation at the time. Appellate attorney and former assistant state attorney Robert Scavone Jr. gave us his opinion after reviewing the report and the documents in the civil case as to why it did not meet the criteria for a criminal investigation.
Even more difficult in a situation like this where, yes, you have some text messages, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to he said, she said. It's hard for the state to believe that they can prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this was stalking.
A short time after Thompson filed the police report, through an internet search, she says she discovered and contacted a South Florida-based nonprofit that helps people facing housing discrimination.
To be put in that predicament is very frightening.
Kenya Robertson is the president of HOPE, which stands for Housing Opportunities Project for Excellence.
Not uncommon for single women who are looking for housing or actually in housing, especially those that are affordable housing opportunities, to be victimized by someone who is in a position of power with regard to their housing.
Robertson connected Thompson to attorney Courtney Cunningham to provide legal counsel, ultimately filing a joint civil lawsuit.
I just really stay to myself, it's a different type of environment.
Robertson and Ms. Thompson's attorney try to provide some comfort, while also going over the case ahead of trial set for next year.
Message get out not only to housing providers that it's illegal, that you will be held accountable, but to victims that you can report it.
Robertson encourages anyone facing possible housing discrimination to reach out to their office to avoid losing a housing opportunity. Joe Gorcho, CBS News, Miami.
It appears South Florida's ongoing heat wave has turned deadly. A vigil was held last week for a Homestead farm worker who, according to his brother, died because he was working outside in the heat. And now activists are demanding action at the state level. CBS News Miami's Yvonne Taylor has more.
One of the obvious questions people ask is, why don't these farm workers open their mouth and say, I am feeling weak, I am sick, I want to go home? Those who are familiar with the job they do, they say that it's not that easy. There are consequences.
Father, we come together to you, Lord, in this moment.
With prayers and candles, 29-year-old Efrain Lopez Garcia was remembered this Wednesday. A man who, according to the Farmer Association of Florida, died doing the same thing these people do every day, working in the heat for hours.
It is happening. We are scared because a lot of more people are saying they are fainting, they're feeling the symptoms.
According to Jeremiah Lopez, that is what happened to his brother who died on July 6. My brother wasn't feeling well, he was weak, Lopez said. The victim did not stop working until his lunch break. My cousin pulled him aside, he then stepped away to get my brother water, and when he came back, he wasn't there. They found him a few feet away, dead. Activists say those who are diabetic, have high blood pressure, and work outdoors have a higher likelihood of a heat stroke. The question is, why not say something?
You're kind of scared of even going to take breaks, to drink water, to go to the restroom. So that's why they need to bring awareness into this problem, because he must have been scared.
Help is on his way.
Tuesday, the Miami-Dade County Commission approved on its first reading the Que Calor ordinance, meaning how hot. But it's not a law yet. It has to be discussed again in September.
Jeremias tells us that for 9 years, his brother worked in agriculture to make sure that he would send money back to his relatives so they would not want to leave the Central American nation. Now this man is raising money so that he could send his brother's body back to his native Guatemala so their mother could give him a last goodbye. In Homestead, Yvonne Taylor, CBS News, Miami.
When we come back, see why U.S. security officials are keeping a close eye on Russia and Cuba and what they say may be a cause for concern on the island nation.
South Florida, this is Headliners, only on CBS News Miami.
Welcome back. I'm Lauren Pastrana. Growing concerns continue about the return of the Russians in Cuba. In recent months, Russian officials made their way through the island nation, and as CBS News Miami's Hank Tester reports, Cuba experts are watching closely as the Russians claim they're making a return to the communist country in a big way.
We are told to get ready for more of this. Russian naval ships docking in the port of Havana. Russian long-range bombers flying down the east coast of the United States, landing in Cuba. Russian spy ships lingering just off the Atlantic territorial waters of the U.S. The Russians, we're told, are coming back.
And the Cuban government is desperate. I mean, they have no money, they have no gas, they have no food.
The Chinese are making moves, and so are the Russians. Cuba reaching out to two superpowers for help. And for one of them, it's not the first rodeo on the island.
It's not going to be a return to the Cold War, but many of the tactics we saw before will certainly come back.
Otto Reich is the former Assistant Secretary of State for Western Hemisphere Affairs, former U.S. Ambassador to Venezuela. Chris Simmons, a former DIA counterintelligence officer, an authority on the Cuban intelligence services, both closely watching Russians move in Cuba.
It's starting again because of Putin's aggressiveness. They have always seen Cuba as a permanent aircraft carrier off the coast of the United States.
Back in the 70s, early 80s, the Soviet Union was a big Cuba player, propping up the Castro government's communist-based economy. The Russians bailed when the Soviet Union fell apart, and now they say they're back with big promises, and the Cubans are sweetening the pie. Russia offering Cuba great deals on gasoline, emergency donations of wheat, promises to build hotels, increase Russian tourism flows, open retail stores stocked with Russian household products. In return, Cuba granting Russian entrepreneurs long-term property leases. Russian banks can open up. Duty-free import of Russian equipment. Russian businesses able to take profits out of the country. The promise? To open a Russian vehicle assembly plant, and
I'm told that they're sending personnel to revamp the spy station.
The Russians operated an eavesdropping station for years, and the Chinese also, but the Russians phased out their facility, but they may bring it back.
From an intelligence and financial standpoint, Havana is sitting in a really viable position to cut deals with both sides, exploit both sides, and bring in desperately needed cash in the process.
And what does Cuba offer in the intelligence espionage world? We know from arrests over the years that Cubans operate one of the best on-the-ground spy operations in the world, important to Russia due to the ongoing war in the Ukraine.
They can turn to the Cubans and say, what is the U.S. Special Operations Community doing in this area? And the Cubans will be able to tell them because they've been watching those units for so long.
It has to be taken seriously. I mean, we have to watch it, and we have in the past when I've been in government. We've always kept an eye on Cuba very carefully.
It is an old story, Russia in our backyard. Payback for the Ukraine or a serious long-range plan rolling out in the Caribbean? I'm Hank Tester, CBS News, Miami.
July is National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, and CBS News Miami is committed to covering what matters when it comes to your mental health. We want to take a closer look at how aging gracefully has changed since the pandemic. CBS News Miami's executive producer impacting communities, Tanya Francois, has more.
Therapists say our generations are different, and it's affecting how people view their aging selves. Getting older is inevitable. How you deal with it is up to you.
I was having a brief chat with a friend not more than a week ago, and she said, oh, but I enjoyed talking to you because you're so wise. And why did that word trigger me?
Wise, seasoned, auntie, all words that have become part of our vernacular to describe women of a particular age. At 58, H. Lee Tony is a mother, daughter, and wife, roles she accepted decades ago. It's this new one she's having a hard time coming to grips with, the one the clock and Mother Nature are making obvious.
I'm having an experience with aging. I mean, we all go through it. We reach this time in our lives as women where we're struggling with.
Tony is a consultant who specializes in grants and project management. She says it's especially those cross-generational conversations that have her mind, body, and biological clock not agreeing.
We may be of a certain age, but really we feel like we felt when we were 30, 25. You know, though that part of our life is so present with us. But we are wiser.
With certain transitions in life, there are challenges. I would say to that individual to embrace who you are in that role, you know, allow yourself to be that elder.
Dr. Jamila Trimble is a psychotherapist who focuses on aging. She says we can blame COVID for the angst.
With the pandemic, we've lost a lot of our elders. We've lost a lot of elders, you know, with transitions within life. There has been, you know, a lot of loss of life. There also, you know, with that elder within that age group, the 50-plus-year-olds are now caregivers to their parents. And so in being a caregiver, that within itself presents multiple, you know, stressors and challenges.
Tony says she has no choice but to accept she's aging. How she does it is what she's working on.
The most important thing is that I'll be fulfilled with the life I live and am living for as long as I'm able to live it.
Doctors say it's important for anyone struggling with aging to begin with putting themselves first. Walks outside, getting sun, and vitamin D are great places to start. Going to a therapist should also not be out of the question if needed. In the studio, Tanya Francois, CBS News, Miami.
When Headliners return, see how a South Florida sports superstar is making a big impact in the community, both on and off the field.
From South Florida, this is Headliners, only on CBS News, Miami.
Welcome back. I'm Lauren Pastrana. Finally, back to school just around the corner, and one South Florida school got a surprise from a major Miami sports star. Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa spent the day at Miami-Edison Senior High to give the team some pointers and some brand new equipment too. CBS News Miami's Lisa Petrillo has the story.
Help me give a warm welcome to Mr. Tua Tagovailoa.
The Miami-Edison Senior High School football field was on fire Tuesday afternoon, not only because of the oppressive heat, but because they received a surprise visit from Miami Dolphins superstar quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, who had inspiring words for both the boys football team and the girls flag football team.
Everybody over here wants to do something big for their family, am I right? Everybody over here.
Thanks to Tua's partnership with Gatorade's Equity in Sports and Good Sports, Miami-Edison High School's athletic department will be receiving approximately $65,000 worth of new sporting equipment to benefit the boys and girls sports programs. And there's more.
It's a really awesome program, Gatorade, in partnership with Up to Us Sports, providing coaches for the school year for Miami-Dade School District and their sports team, so they'll be supporting them throughout the school year.
The Miami Dolphins quarterback was honorary coach for the day, spending time with both the boys and the girls, something he knows is very important.
What does it feel in your heart to see the faces? Because when you came out, they were sort of in shock, and then, wow, a superstar in what I'm doing, that's got to feel good.
It's really special. It really is special. This is something that I always dreamt of growing up, being a professional football player and being able to make an impact for communities and being able to help give back. So for me to be able to come out here and, you know, while still living my dream, it's very, very cool.
It's not lost on Miami-Edison's real coach, Luther Campbell.
These kids a lot of them come from single parent households, and when he talked about, you know, family, and just any mention of family means a whole lot to these young men, you know, and the young ladies.
Bringing it home, right?
Yes, bring it home.
And as for these young athletes, it's a day they won't soon forget.
That mean a lot because I sit back and watch them on a big screen TV on Sunday night and stuff, so I wish I was in his spot right now and everything like that.
I feel like, you know, he came to, you know, he's showing us and giving us a chance that, you know,
we could really be like him in the future.
Yep.
Well, you know, not exactly like him because, you know, we girls, but like it really inspired me to play harder and work harder.
You know, this is Edison. We don't really get looked at as much like the West, Central, and stuff like that. So for NFL players to come out here to look at us, record us, and stuff like that, it's really showing us that we really going on top.
All in all, an amazing day of football, philanthropy, and a whole lot of fun here at the field at Miami Edison Senior High. I'm Lisa Petrillo, CBS News, Miami.
Thanks for joining us this half hour on Headliners. As always, keep it right here to CBS News Miami for up-to-the-minute breaking news and weather 24 hours a day. Make it a great one.